On the road. All right. Hello, everybody. It is 11-ish on the dot mountain time, which means that it is time yet again for another exciting edition of This Week in Space. Hello, all y'all out there in the tubes of the internet. My name is Joan Emerson Bell. I'm a tarot reader, astrologer, and licensed mental health counselor. I like to come here every Monday at 11-ish to give you the breakdown of what's going on in space. Um, I don't know. That's about it. Thanks for showing up. Bye, y'all. Just kidding. Before we kick off this week's pretty exciting episode. I'm available for tarot and or astrology readings, as well as astrological themed coaching. I'm going to be leaving the country for a couple weeks, going to Greece to run a retreat with Sarah Janes, and Ariel Gutman is going to be joining us. So I will be out of the loop for a couple weeks, coming back in the beginning of October. So if you're interested in learning more about how the current skies are affecting your natal chart, or if you need some support to navigate these trying and turbulent times, you can hit me up through my website, Camp Wizard Camp, or DM me on the Instagrams at Blind Stallion Space Wizard, and we can get something on the books for y'all for when I get back in the beginning of October. Um, Other than that, no more advertisements, no more interruptions, and we can just dive into this week in space. So, today, my friends, we'll be looking at this week in space for September the 8th, 2025 through September the 14th of 2025. And coming off the heels of the eclipse, which occurred yesterday, Sunday the 7th, which was felt pretty spicy. A lot of chaos, a lot of static, which is pretty on brand for eclipses. This is a sort of a space of non-ordinary reality that we enter into where things get kind of shook up. And the vibe that I got was one of like trying to grab on and let go simultaneously, a lot of chaos, a lot of frustration. I sort of lacked patience. I don't know how y'all are feeling out there, but these are intense times, and they were intense times before the moon got swallowed up by the North Node. But I think the eclipse portal adds a extra level of excitement to everything that's going on. Fortunately, this week we have some very light astro action and a lot of aspects to Jupiter, and helping to bring some coherence and maybe helping us to kind of get a little different perspective on what's been shaken up and going down through this eclipse portal. And we're in the eclipse portal from yesterday, September the 7th, all the way through the equinox. The second eclipse will be occurring in Virgo, which is a partial solar eclipse, and that's happening on the 21st at the very last degree of Virgo before the sun enters into Libra, marking the autumnal equinox. So, kicking it off on Wednesday, September the 10th, we have the Sun in Virgo conjunct the South Node in Virgo. This is happening at 18 degrees and 20 arc minutes of the mutable Earth sign of the Virgin. And I don't usually talk about the nodes too much, or aspects to the nodes. And to be quite honest, I didn't even take notes on this one, so I'm kind of gonna freewheel it a little bit. However, I wanted to bring this in because it is eclipse season, and the sun is an important aspect in the chart, dealing with our ego identity, our sense of self, our sense of authenticity, that sort of inner wisdom that lives within us that we are trying to radiate out into the world through our actions, the ways that we shine our light into the world. And The south node is a release point. Traditionally, it's a place of decrease. And in the evolutionary astrology, they talk about it as old habituated patterns which need to be released and let go of in order to make space to move forward into something new, into the north node, which represents this place of new behavioral patterns, new thought patterns, new ways of doing life, which are kind of uncomfortable to lean into. And the south node is kind of thought of through this context as a place that we understand, where we're familiar. It's what we've always known how to do. It's sort of these survival patterns that we have developed and they work. And we're like, cool, I'm just going to keep doing this again and again and again and again. And when we have eclipses or aspects to the nodes, especially something like the sun conjunct the south node, gives us an opportunity to really examine the habituated patterns, the survival patterns, the programs that we have been running and consider, okay, is this really benefiting me? Is this appropriate for the place that I find myself in my life today? What might need to be adjusted or released in order to make a little bit more space to lean into something new, to sort of lean into my growth edge, even though it's uncomfortable. The old pattern that we've been running, the old program that we've been running, may not be the right thing for right now. And so this is an opportunity to kind of consider and adjust and maybe release some things that we've been doing for a long time that's just operating under the surface because that's what we know how to do, because that feels familiar and comfortable. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that I've learned from my own experience is that change is difficult, change is uncomfortable, and we will usually hang on to what we know, even if the discomfort of the place that we are is pretty intense. But we tend to trust the discomfort that we know. Instead of leaning into the unknown, which opens up a space of it could be worse. Right? We get these belief systems or ideas in our heads that change or something different or something unknown could be worse than the low level or like kind of extreme discomfort that we've just gotten used to over time. And so, again, the sun is a representation of our ego, our sense of self. It is me as a unique being, separated from the others. It's what tells me that I am different than this table or you or anything else in the world. And this is an important psychological factor. A strong ego helps us to navigate the world. And, there's a lot of talk in spiritual traditions and spiritual communities about ego death or letting go of the ego. And I think that these have validity, but we don't want to just completely dissolve or get rid of our egos because it's really important to have a sense of self in this world because this helps us to navigate how we're living, what we're doing. It gives us aspirations. It helps us to move forward towards our goals. And it gives us an individual identity. And so, with the sun or this ego consciousness coming in contact, coming in this conjunction with the north node, the south node, which again is a release point. It's sort of like a drain where old belief systems sort of drain out of us, or a compost heap. It's a place of letting go. And in that letting go, there is sorrow and there is grief. And with the sun connecting with the south node on Wednesday, it may bring up the opportunity to let go of old ego ideals or the stories that we have been living out or the programs that we have been running that help to shape who we think we are. And the South Node sort of begins to pull these things away a little bit. And this can be uncomfortable and this can be difficult. And I think part of the challenge with this conjunction is to really consider, okay, what are the old stories that I no longer need? What are the sort of belief systems about myself and who I am and who I should be that are not really helping me out anymore? that may be outdated or may come from my cultural conditioning or my family of origin, that may just be stories that I have invented to survive. And which of these can I let go of while maintaining a strong sense of self, of who I am, without holding so tightly to it? Can we hold this ego identity, this sense of self, in an open palm and allow that to just be there without needing to cling to this is who I am, and if I am not that, then I am nothing, while maintaining a strong connection with our inner authenticity and that inner wisdom, which can help us to really truly navigate our way through the world in a skillful manner. Instead of clinging to maybe outdated beliefs or old programming that we developed in order to survive, in order to fit in order to receive love or connection. And so, kind of kicking off or midweek, there is this sort of draining out or, conflict that we may experience around who we are and our sense of self. And I think it's really important to hold throughout this week who we would like to be moving forward and what might need to be released in order to make a little bit more space for that. Now, across the zodiac in Pisces, we have the North Node. And this eclipse that occurred yesterday was a North Node eclipse. And the North Node pulls us into things. It's a place of increase. And one of the things that I've been thinking about, and I didn't say this last week, but time keeps moving on. So I'm glad that I get an opportunity to talk on this now. But Pisces is a sign that deals with a lot of permeability. Traditionally, it's a Jupiter ruled sign, and this sort of sense of expansion until things get bigger and bigger and bigger and encompass everything. And so, in that expanding and thinning, we have like a thinning of the membrane, a thinning of boundaries, where things become much more permeable, and outside ideas or bacteria or different things can sort of enter into the system. And this is neither good nor bad, but it's something to consider, the kind of increased permeability that we might be experiencing now. And again, the ego identity is sort of a boundary, this sense of I am me. And as that thins, we get the opportunity to take in new information, new ideas, new belief systems, make new connections. And on the other hand, if that membrane of the ego identity becomes too thin, then we can lose our sense of self and be sort of left adrift on the Piscean ocean. So something again to consider is like, how can this permeability benefit me? How can I allow new things to come into the system that can help me to update what I'm doing and what I'm believing and how I'm participating in the world, while maintaining that strong sense of this is me as different than everything else, and being able to hold it's okay for me to be me while allowing other things to come in, but not to necessarily infect the system. You know what I'm saying? So this week and in this whole eclipse fiasco that we're experiencing, really considering what is the right membrane or boundary for me to be able to maintain so that I can navigate the world while allowing new information, new ideas, new belief systems, new possibility to enter into the system and be integrated to help me update the ways that I'm navigating the world. Cool. Got through that part all right, I think. Moving right along to the end of the week, Friday, September the 12th, we have the Sun in Virgo, sextile Jupiter in Cancer. This is going down at 19 degrees and 48 arc minutes. So, on the heels of the eclipse, on the heels of the Sun's conjunction with the South Node, we have a supportive aspect between Jupiter and the Sun, which I love. This transit can really help us to connect with a sense of optimism, which I think is really important right now, especially after the intensity of Sunday's lunar eclipse. Both Jupiter and the Sun deal with ideas of coherence. Jupiter helps us to create coherence through culture, knowledge, wisdom. They help us to see the bigger picture, which can be really helpful in understanding how all the parts fit together and to bring context to our current experience. The sun is the center of our solar system. It is the star that exerts a gravitational force on all the other planets and bodies in the solar system, which keeps them in orbit. The sun is the center and the cohering force of our little neighborhood of the galaxy. And so psychologically, we can consider the sun as the center of the psyche. Like I said, the ego or the sense of self, which is the cohering force of our psyches. And we could consider the sense of self or ego as the kind of central axis that all our other parts or ideas orbit. And it's kind of like the gravitational force that helps hold everything together from flying off in all directions. And this is why it's important to have a strong sense of ego. Not so strong that we can't take in other things, but strong enough so that we have that central axis and our, minds, bodies, spirits, all of our thoughts aren't flying in all directions. They have a place to cohere, they have a place to coagulate. This is the value of having an ego and a defined sense of self in relationship with others. It helps to hold the psyche together and to contain the psychic energy that emerges within an individual due to life events. So, with Jupiter in a supportive sextile to the sun, we have these two symbols of coherence in a harmonious relationship. And they're kind of collaborating with each other here. Jupiter brings knowledge and faith, and the sun brings us in touch with our inner spiritual wisdom. The sun helps us to transmit our inner authentic self into the world through the light that it shines. It is this inner core of authenticity that we might see as a cohering principle of the individual. This is who I truly am. That's what the sun says. And this inner wisdom is expressed through our ego identity, the sense of an individual self as unique and independent from others. The sun also helps to filter out external stimuli and helps us to commit to the bit. The sun illuminates what it chooses to shine upon, which can help with clarity and focus. So, as Jupiter, planet of expansion, comes into a supportive aspect with the sun, it helps to expand that sense of self. It helps to grow our perspective so that the sun's light can reach a broader area without dimming or becoming diffuse. And while the sun can tend to filter things out through its focused light, Jupiter can really help expand what the sun shines its light on and allow a bigger picture awareness, which I love. Jupiter also brings a sense of faith and optimism, which can help us to lean into our ability to both tap into that inner core of the self and to share that with the world around us. Jupiter also provides the faith that we can stand in the sun and soak it up, which I think is really important. I think we all have the right to stand in the sun and to soak up its life giving rays. And we all might, or some of us, might have stories that we don't deserve it or that if I stand in the sun, then that robs somebody else of their place in the sun. We can develop stories like this through past experience or our upbringing or cultural conditioning. And these stories become internalized and they become the cohering principle that our worlds orbit around. The same thing on the flip side with stories that say, oh, if I shine my light, I will be too much and I'll be cast out. Jupiter sex, excuse me, Jupiter sextile the sun helps us to kind of expand that perspective so that we can begin to rework and rewrite these stories and create something that we can orbit that feels more in alignment with who we want to be and how we want to show up in the world. The sun says, I have enough light for everybody and everything. And Jupiter says, you can have faith in that. So, with this transit, we can both strengthen and expand the things that bring coherence to our internal psychic landscape, and which also in turn bring coherence to the ways that we perceive the world around us. This eclipse time, like they often do, felt pretty scattered and fragmented. Like I said, I felt all these feelings of trying to let go and grabbing on simultaneously, which was like pretty unhinged. And like had a very frenetic feeling in my body. However, towards the end of this week, having Jupiter and the Sun coming together to share their specific gifts of coherence can help us to gain a different and perhaps broader perspective on the situations that we have been finding ourselves in. This transit might shine a light on some of the fragments and pieces that have been emerging during the eclipse portal. And it can help us to hold them and understand how they might fit together into the broader scope of things. Can also help us to learn from our experiences and to both apply knowledge from the past to our current time and to integrate the themes that are coming up in our into our bigger picture awareness of our current experience. Jupiter's sense of optimism can help us shift into a positive frame of mind, which can help us to believe in ourselves and what we are doing, which I think is really important right now. It can also be helpful in stretching our sense of self and what we believe we can accomplish and who we allow ourselves to be. This transit and most of the latter part of this week is good for being in connection and for being with people, for sharing ideas and learning for others. This is a really good time for connection and conversation, and maybe unpacking some of the themes or ideas or experiences that we've been going through as we enter into and get comfortable or as comfortable as we can be in the eclipse portal. Um, External influences can also help us to expand. Jupiter is seen as a teacher. And so now this is a really good opportunity to learn from others and to pay attention to the knowledge that others may offer. And this is also a good time to share your own wisdom and to show up in your own teaching role, whatever that might mean to you. And this is not being like, let me tell you what, back in my day, this is being able to share honestly and freely what your experience is like because it might benefit others. There can be a sense of group coherence through connection and the sharing of ideas. And this is also due to Mercury sextile Jupiter, which occurs the same day, slightly after the Sun perfects their sextile to Jupiter. And then rounding out the week, Mercury will meet up with the Sun and form their superior conjunction on Saturday. And that's an opportunity also to share the wisdom that both the Sun and Mercury have gathered from their interactions with Jupiter. So, like I was saying, also on Friday, September the 12th, we have Mercury following on the heels of the Sun, Mercury and Virgo coming in to perfect their sextile to Jupiter in Cancer. And this is happening at 19 degrees and 53 arc minutes. So, Mercury deals with the mind. It's how we process and communicate information. There's a lot to do with the stories that we tell ourselves based on the information that we are taking in. And this is how we create our reality, and this is how we filter the world. Mercury is the filter of our minds and how we make sense of the world at a cognitive level. Jupiter helps us to turn our attention to the bigger picture and to see how the stories that we're telling ourselves about our current experience can fit into a larger context. It's Jupiter is the sort of encompassing mythology that brings a sense of meaning to the stories that we're telling ourselves on a moment to moment basis. If we think about our inner narrative, our inner Mercury, as individual threads or strands or stories, Jupiter is the tapestry that they're all being woven into. Jupiter allows us to step back and kind of admire the bigger picture and to see the pattern in the weaving from a distance, which can help us really make sense of what's going on and what we're doing with all these stories. Mercury says words, and Jupiter makes poetry or meaning from the words that Mercury is just spitting out. So today, on Friday, we may find ourselves looking for deeper meaning and having the ability to see the bigger pattern. And again, I think this is beneficial as we're still in the non-ordinary reality space of eclipse season. Both the Sun and Mercury sextile to Jupiter help us to make a little bit of sense of our eclipse experience and to recognize how these seemingly random events and disruptions and errant themes of the past few weeks might be fitting into a bigger picture or broader narrative. This sextile can help us to kind of clear our minds and lend itself to more optimistic thinking. Mercury is pretty curious, and this transit can help us to expand our curiosity. And I love curiosity. Love curiosity. I love novelty. I think that these are really important attributes and things to cultivate. You so maybe try and stay curious towards the end of the week and lean into areas of interest that may emerge. And again, coming off the sun's conjunction to the south node and maybe this draining out of old ideas or ego identity, trying to just cultivate curiosity and wondering, oh, what else could it be? What new thing might emerge that I can pay attention to? Try and pull on the loose threads that catch your attention and have a little faith that they might reveal something interesting. Mercury and Jupiter together and the relationship between information and meaning can help us to be more open to synchronicities. These chance occurrences that seem to reveal deeper meaning or hold symbolic value. And I always find these help to point the way. They help to sort of reveal the path. And Mercury or Hermes, one of the ways that they were honored in the traditional or the ancient Greek world was through rock stackings at crossroads, which still kind of live on today as cairns that mark trails when you're hiking in the woods. And so I always think about synchronicities as these Karens or Herms, as they were called in ancient Greece, these trail markers that help me to know, okay, that thing came up a bunch of times. Oh, like people keep saying this weird word that I haven't heard in 6 months. Okay, that's really interesting. Maybe this is pointing the way. Oh, I just saw that thing that appeared in a dream. Oh, I keep seeing this number over and over and over again. Maybe that's a little trail marker. Maybe I can follow that. Maybe I can lean into that. Maybe I can go that way. So throughout the eclipse season, we really want to pay attention to the little things that point to the patterns and the overarching themes, these herms or trail markers, these honorings to Mercury that help us to navigate the sort of chaos of the space and help us to find a coherent trail that we can pursue. And we might not know where it's going, but we don't know where we're going anyway. So you got to sort of work with what you got. And if Hermes Mercury provides you a trail marker, it might be worth exploring that path. And so this Mercury Jupiter transit can really help us to notice the chance events that seem to point to a bigger picture or a more coherent narrative. Mercury, in their role as the messenger, is transmitting information between the world and our internal processing center. And Jupiter, again, helps to expand the picture that we are making from all of this and the stories that we are telling ourselves. And it is the random synchronicities that can kind of help us to wayfind through our psychic environment and to follow the right thread that can lead us deeper into the understanding of ourselves and into self-knowledge. So try and stay open and lean into curiosity and what is being presented. And as much as Mercury in Virgo kind of wants to focus on the details and keep refining and refining and refining them until the thing is totally perfect, this is a chance to kind of step back and see the gestalt of a situation. And Gestalt means that the thing is actually other than the sum of its parts. And I love this. This is kind of an emergent process where we get a chance to recognize that our experiences are not just separated or isolated, disparate events, but part of a tapestry of life that both contains these experiences and ideas, and at the same time is different or other than the component parts that compose the whole. This is an opportunity to be open to what that can look like. The secret third thing that reveals itself in the relationship between the whole and its parts. We can practice expanding our awareness here and leaning in to hold both the minute detail and the large pattern simultaneously, and to see what can emerge from that space between the detail and the complete picture. Which brings us to the last transit of the week. This is sort of a quick one. I'm just working with what I got, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure you all have other things to do today. So yeah, here we go. Saturday, September the 13th. We have Mercury in Virgo conjunct the Sun in Virgo. This is occurring at 20 degrees and 54 arc minutes. So, my friends, this is Mercury's superior conjunction, which means that Mercury is beyond the sun from our perspective. And the sun is between us and Mercury. You like that infographic right there? This is opposed to Mercury's inferior conjunction, which occurs during the retrograde process when Mercury is between us and the sun. And so um, I'm always anyway, I think about Mercury as receiving and transmitting information down through the sun, which is communicated or filtered down to us through the sun's rays in this superior conjunction, as Mercury is beyond the sun from our perspective. The Mercury Sun conjunction is the beginning of a new stage of the cycle, where Mercury is now about to be moving faster than the Sun. And this is after their retrograde adventure in Leo. And so Mercury, after this conjunction, will continue picking up speed until they reach what is called their greatest elongation, or the furthest distance that they can be from the Sun, at which point they will begin to slow down and eventually station retrograde again, which will occur on November the 9th uh, at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. And so now Mercury is coming into connection with the sun, where Mercury does sort of an info dump and begins the new phase of their cycle as they're about to move ahead of the sun. During this process, Mercury enters into the heart of the sun and they sync up for a brief moment as Mercury transmits their information and the sun illuminates things with its light. And I like to think that what the sun illuminates or brings into awareness at this time is informed by the messages and information that Mercury is providing. This might help to bring some clarity to issues that we have been dealing with in recent weeks and through this eclipse season. Things may come to light or be revealed. And there may be a sense of clarity in our thinking. There may be that, that's what it's about, or, oh, that's super interesting. Oh, it's all making sense right now. And then that might be lost as Mercury moves through the sun's light and kind of disappears a little bit. But this is a good time for receiving information and messages and tuning into our awareness. Mercury is the ruler of the sun in while the sun is positioned in Mercury's sign of Virgo. And Mercury has, sort of power here as the sun is kind of posted up in Mercury's Airbnb. Mercury is the landlord to where the sun is hanging out and has the ability to resource the sun and also, sort of shape what the sun's interests are. Um, Mercury in Virgo is interested in details and kind of honing and refining things so that they can be put to practical use. And so we might want to pay attention to details as we come into the weekend and think about what has been refined through our current experience of life and how we can use this awareness to be of service to others. Virgo is trying to make things better, and we may get a bit of understanding on what we might still need to work on, where the flaws in our system lie. Not to feel bad about this, but the clarity around what could be better can be very helpful in showing us where to put our energy and what could use some work so it can reach its full potential. And something to be aware of is that Mercury and Virgo can be a little critical. And as they are in conjunction with the sun or our ego consciousness, some critical voices or parts may arise. So just try not to internalize or dwell on this criticism too much. remember, it's only business, it's not personal. And see if we can kind of move past whatever critical voice we hear and be open to what might be operating underneath the surface, which might just be the desire to make things better so that they can come into form and be put to practical use in order to benefit others. So, in the Homeric hymn to Hermes, which is the story of Hermes's birth, Hermes and Apollo are brothers. When Hermes is born, the first thing that they do is kill a turtle that is walking by the door of their cave. And from its shell, Hermes makes the instrument, the lyre, which is a stringed instrument. And as soon as he makes this instrument, they compose a song and they start playing it. And then quickly they get kind of bored because Hermes loves novelty and is a very curious fellow. And so they get bored of their new invention after inventing this thing and composing this beautiful song. And Mercury, out of the door of the cave, spies Apollo's cattle grazing in a field. Mercury, or Hermes, sets off to go steal them. When Apollo finds out that his cattle is gone, he's pissed. Apollo goes and finds Hermes and confronts him. And Hermes lies to him about the situation, saying, "What, bro? I'm just a newborn baby. How could I ever steal cattle? I don't even know what a cattle is. Look at me, I'm so cute." But Apollo isn't having any of this and picks him up and takes him to Zeus, who is quite amused by the whole situation and tells Hermes that they need to give Apollo's cattle back, which the newborn god does. During the course of the negotiation around cattle and whose son and what's going on here, Hermes gets bored and begins playing their lyre. And Apollo is totally enthralled by the instrument and the beautiful sounds that it makes. Hermes says that they'll give Apollo the lyre to make up for any hard feelings. It's not a big deal. Here, you just take this, bro. Apollo is so moved that Apollo gives Hermes the caduceus in exchange, or the staff of magic. And the story illustrates the connection between Hermes, Mercury, and Apollo, the sun. And so there is this exchange that binds these two together, these two brothers together. The tools and attributes that these gods are known for come from their interaction and exchange. Apollo receives the lyre, the instrument that he uses to compose music and poetry, which are two of Apollo's greatest skills. And in some depictions, the lyre has seven strings, which correlate with the seven traditional planets. And so we can consider this as the sun's ability to hold the planets in their orbit and to kind of conduct or play the music of the spheres. And Hermes, Mercury, receives the staff of magic, which depicts two snakes intertwining up a central rod. We can think about the central rod of the staff as the spinal column, and the snakes representing the movement of energy through the body, culminating in the kiss of the serpents at the apex of the staff, or in the brain, which is at the culmination of the spine. So, through Mercury's curiosity and ingenuity, they are able to invent something completely new, which both disrupts and readjusts the order of things. This is trickster magic, my friends. Hermes is able to exchange his invention for a place in Olympus and for a symbol of their ability as a magician through which they shape their reality. So, with this conjunction between the Sun and Mercury, there is an opportunity to shine light on something new, a new idea that can help to shift the system. And we can think about the exchange that can occur between the Sun, or ego identity, and the mind, which has the ability to create the reality that we are living in. However, it is important to remember that the mind, like Hermes, is a liar. Hermes created the liar. They tell half truths, they obfuscate, and they will make up stories to get their way. When put to good use, we can shape our perception of reality. But when left unattended, little baby Hermes or our mind can create mischief and chaos. And so it's important to remember during this conjunction that we are not our thoughts. And to use the Virgo power of discernment to decide which thoughts are tricking us and causing us to walk in circles, and which thoughts can really benefit us if we choose to work with them until they are properly sharpened and refined. The influence of Jupiter to both the Sun and Mercury this week helps us to expand our awareness. Jupiter's optimism helps us to hold a bigger possibility for the shape of our reality and what that could look like moving forward. Jupiter in sextile to this conjunction says think bigger and trust that you can lean into something greater than what old limiting stories allowed you to believe was possible. Lastly, Mercury is a threshold god. They rule over crossroads and twilight spaces of dawn and dusk. They live in the in between. They live in the doorway, which is neither inside nor outside, but right in the middle, and occupies both the inside and outside space. The eclipse portal is also a threshold time, a twilight time where the luminaries disappear and the old containers of the rhythms of life that we are used to are disrupted. Mercury's conjunction with the sun is also a threshold moment, where the information from the old cycle, with all its reviewing and rethinking and reconsidering of Mercury's retrograde, are offered up to the sacred fire in the heart of the sun, and something new is begun. This is a time for integration as as well as for revisions, and things are released from the kind of ego identity and brought as well as brought into the center of the self so that they can be integrated as we begin to move forward. Simultaneously, Mercury sets off ahead of the sun to scout the way and to open new thought patterns and different awarenesses that the sun will catch up to eventually. And during the conjunction, in this threshold moment, in this in between space where the old cycle ends and a new story is yet to be written, this is a liminal space where anything can happen. There is the opportunity for possibility. This is a chance to set intention around what we would like this next cycle to look like. Mercury reminds us that we construct our reality from our thought processes and the stories that we tell ourselves, and the ways that we gather, filter, and process the information that we take in. And they remind us that we have agency to some degree to shape our reality through the ways that we choose to perceive life and how we filter and digest it. And again, the stories that we tell ourselves about it. Mercury, as a magician, seeks to reshape reality based on the way that they process and communicate their experience. Through curiosity and ingenuity and trickery, Mercury is able to ingratiate themselves to Apollo and Zeus and to work their way into the Olympian pantheon. It is their ability to rest in the unknown, in the in between, that allows the opening for possibility, because it is in the liminal space that anything can happen. And as we allow ourselves to sit there in this in between and become familiar with this sometimes awkward threshold space, this twilight space, we can develop the ability to influence and we can develop the ability to influence the shape of our reality moving forward. The sun is about singularity and clarity. It brings things to light and reveals their true form. The sun seeks to know, but Mercury moves in half light in these in between liminal spaces. So, in this conjunction, Mercury can help influence what is known and what is revealed in the light with the myriad possibilities of what emerges from the twilight spaces of possibility and potential. So you might want to spend some time considering how you would like things to look moving forward as Mercury begins to move ahead of the sun and charts the course into new territory. Consider what secret intention you would like to communicate to the heart of the sun during this conjunction, to the core of the ego. And what information can Mercury retrieve from the heart of the sun about our authentic self or inner wisdom that can prepare them for this new adventure? Um, and that can help Mercury notice the things that really resonate with the innermost wisdom and authenticity. And as Mercury notices these things, it's like the harmonic of the lyre being plucked. Oh, like when I pluck this string, this resonates over here. Let me move that way. Oh, as I set this intention, I notice the things that feel this way. And this helps me to wayfind and navigate through the world to come closer to that resonant frequency that seems to make sense with who I want to be or what I truly am. And um, we can also consider what shapes might need to shift to adjust the contours of reality so it can feel a little bit better, feel a little bit freer, and be better in alignment with our inner selves. And what new stories would you like to tell to help you move forward with greater agency and ease? What threads can you spool out so that you can follow them towards a sense of a preferred future? Mercury's conjunction with the sun alerts us to the power that lives in the thresholds. And it reminds us that reality is maybe a little bit more malleable and not as fixed as we are sometimes led to believe. So pay attention, my friends, to what might be revealed this week that can help you to shift things towards a more preferred vision of the story that you are telling and the story that you would like to be living out. All right. That's it. That's all the astro weather that is fit to print. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Joan Emerson Bell, astrologer extraordinaire, tarot reader, and I'm also a mental health counselor on the side. Usually starting in mid-October, I will be available for tarot and astrology readings as well as astrological coaching. Hit me up on my website, campwizardcamp.com, or through Instagram at Blind Stallion Space Wizard. And on that, I hope you all have a great week in space. And again, this is a great time to be trying to pick up the pieces a little bit and sit with them and kind of develop a sense of coherence a little bit, not too much coherence, just enough to help you move forward with some skill and with some ease, and to really consider what is the story that I would like to be telling moving forward. So I think that this is an opportunity to initiate a new story as we are kind of meandering in this threshold space. This is a time of being lost in confusion and chaos, but at the same time, this is a opportunity for new things to arise. And so, in this kind of in between and malleable space, I do think that we have some agency to cast our lot into the world and say, this is how I would like it to work. This is how I would like to be living. This is the story that I would like to be telling. So, with that, my friends, be well, go in peace. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this, send it to somebody else who might like it. It's good to get the word out there. And I don't know, I like doing this, and I hope that it reaches whoever needs to hear it. And so, if you all know somebody who you think might benefit from this, send it along to them. And with that, my friends, be well out there. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and as always, may the force be with you. Bye now.